And then just asking myself, well, if this is not love, if sacrifice is not love, then what is love? And then having to redefine that for myself, it's not an easy thing to do because you want your definition of love to match everyone else's, right? But that's not always the way that works. So I had to redefine that for myself. And that was difficult. That was a difficult process because I didn't know if people were going to accept my new definition and accept the way I decided to show up now, because everyone was so used to me showing up in a certain way. So it was scary.
Good morning, guys. We are your hosts, Lori
And Shenisse, certified spiritual life coaches, and we're so glad you're here. Welcome to our podcast, Branching In.
Yes, and we'd also love it if you take just a moment to like and subscribe. It means a lot to us to have your support as we continue to spread more and more self-awareness.
Yes. So on today's episode, I will be getting more vulnerable by sharing a true story about a defining moment that shaped who I am today. And Lori and I hope this story not only brings you closer to us, but also inspires you along your own journey.
Yes. Yes. So in this episode, we are going to talk about a moment, Shenisse, in your life that led you to this profound realization that love does not equal sacrifice. So, Shenisse, you had a defining moment that forced you to face the illusion that love meant abandoning yourself. So, could you share some of that experience with us?
Yes. So let me just start off by prefacing so that everything else later makes sense. I've always been such a go-getter, like go mode. I love it. I thrive off of it. I always wake up with a lot of energy. And I just love going about my day, getting things done. And I'd always lived my life like that. I remember always wanting kids. Even when I was little, I couldn't wait to be a mom. And then once I began motherhood, I'm like, damn, like, look at me go. I was just a machine and I loved it. I loved that I was a machine. And I lived like that most of my life thinking, this is cool. Like, I can do this. I can do this. And then so after my sixth child, I got postpartum depression for the first time. I had experienced it a little bit with my twins. There was like a week after I had them where I'm like, whoa, I'm like, what is this? But that went by really fast. And so I never really got to go down that rabbit hole. But after Lincoln, my sixth, I experienced postpartum depression. And that really forced me to face that I can't do everything on my own, that I wasn't superwoman, that I was human, and that something had to change. Like, it really led me to the realization that I just couldn't keep going the way I had been going, that I needed help, that something had to change. I was giving everything that I had always given, and it wasn't enough. I was like so burned out. My hormones were all over the place. It brought me to the stage in my life where I just knew I couldn't keep going down that road. And that eventually led me to trying to learn different ways of being, which led me to school where we met. Oh my gosh. And so that's really where I learned, like in going to revisit my past, the way I grew up, my upbringing, it led me to the realization that love is not sacrifice, that love is not synonymous with sacrifice. Because my whole entire view of love had always just been about giving. And how much can I give and how much can I do? And it was great because I had always been able to keep up until I couldn't. And so learning that love was not sacrifice just completely changed my entire life. My entire foundation crumbled after that because I realized everything I had been taught was wrong. Everything I had been taught about love was wrong. So that led me through a period of some really dark years where I just began questioning everything that I had ever thought I knew about myself, about life, about everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see how something had to break. You had to almost have extreme amount placed on you, especially because have a high pain tolerance and are this super amazing mom that it had to be so much, but you finding out that you do have a breaking point.
Yeah, looking back, I realized I'm grateful for it because I would have just kept going. I would have continued thinking I was super mom, continued thinking I could do it all. And that really, it was such an important lesson in my life that really, forced me to just stop just stop and be still and be present, and realize I needed to go about motherhood and just how I was showing up in my life different. It got to the point where I no longer could do it the way I was doing it. My body wouldn't allow for it.
Mm.
My mental state wouldn't allow for it. My emotional state wouldn't allow for it. So I had no choice but to find another way of doing life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very relatable, and everybody's point is different, and like you said, what a great, experience to have in a sense to know that there is an end, that, you can only do so much. So as you were sacrificing everything you had, that is what taught you that you learned that love doesn't equal sacrifice. What were some of these feelings that were coming in for you?
So the first one was I felt betrayed. That might sound weird, but I felt so betrayed because like I've always been such a loving person my whole life. That was the epitome of the best kind of person I could be, was how much I loved others. And so realizing that, like, and that's how I was raised too, in that like upbringing, was to just love, and to give that love and to share that love freely. And so I did that through sacrificing my energy, sacrificing my time, and thinking like, look how well I'm loving, you know, like, look at me go. And then realizing that's not the way. I felt betrayed. I felt like everything I had been taught was wrong. I had an identity crisis, like a complete and utter identity crisis, Lori. Because then I'm like, well, then if love isn't what I was taught it is, then is anything that I was taught true? And who am I? And so then if this isn't how I love, then how do I love?
Well,
My
yeah.
entire foundation just completely crumbled underneath me.
Yeah. Well, it sounds to me like, Shanice, we talk about love languages, and your one way that you show love in your love language is giving.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that, because part of you intertwined with giving as sacrificing, giving without a boundary.
Mhm.
'Cause I feel like the sacrifice comes in when we give without putting a boundary to it, and that so you can continue to still have that love language as giving, because that feels so good for you, but now you don't have to sacrifice yourself in the process,
Yeah.
which makes such a difference.
Yeah.
So you're not you didn't have to really lose you.
Well, that's what I did. I did at first. That was a part of the identity crisis, and there was so much grief working through that. The following, I don't even know, like 3 to 4 years after I learned that, was just grieving who I thought I had to be, grieving all the years that I spent sacrificing in the name of love,
Yeah.
grieving all the ways I had abandoned myself unknowingly because I didn't have any boundaries. And then just asking myself, well, if this is not love, if sacrifice is not love, then what is love? And then having to redefine that for myself, which is, it's not an easy thing to do because
No.
you want your definition of love to match everyone else's, right? But that's not always the way that works. So I had to redefine that for myself, and that was difficult. That was a difficult process because I didn't know if people were gonna accept my new definition and accept the way I decided to show up now. Because everyone was so used to me showing up in a certain way. So it was scary. It was so scary.
Well, I can
Yeah.
imagine, especially because then you're like, you're gonna possibly lose things in the process.
And I did.
Yeah.
I did. And that was its own um another wave of grief that I had to sit with and just allow it to be, really surrender and trust that if anything that was leaving my life for a reason. Yeah. Yeah. But then, it was okay. Like years later, after really sitting in that for a long time, accepting what this was changing in my life and who I was becoming, it slowly forged who I am today.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't change that for anything. I love who I am.
Well, and it's not easy, like, it's what you're sharing with us is, I feel like we've all been through it, is like having to find a new way, finding, this way isn't working, but then having to rediscover yourself and what did work, and some of these ways that you were adapted from other people. So they really weren't you to begin with.
Mhm.
So it makes sense why there would be an identity crisis because we are all kind of conditioned with other people's things, love equals sacrifice is one of them. And then when we take that away, it's like, well, then,
Yeah, like, what's up? What's down? What's
yeah,
left? What's right? I didn't know what anything was anymore.
yeah,
Everything was up in the air for me,
yeah,
like, at that point, because that was such a huge shock to my system that it made me just really begin to question everything. I felt like I couldn't trust anything that I knew or anything that I'd learned.
yeah. It sounds like it's very lonely.
Mhm.
I mean, having that, awareness and then all of a sudden, okay, now I feel completely alone. And I think, Shanice, I'm glad you're sharing this story because so many of us were conditioned to believe this. This is very, I think, common. I know for myself, this is a very common love equals sacrifice. And if
Mhm.
I'm not sacrificing, I'm not loving. And vice versa, if somebody's not sacrificing for me, they don't love me
Yeah.
too, because I remember thinking that same thing, like somebody couldn't sacrifice enough for me because that's how I showed you my love and that's how I received it by
Yeah.
also knowing that I'm like, well, you need to sacrifice. You need to just give it all, whatever. That's how I feel your love.
Yeah. Yeah, and as you were talking, I'm just thinking, I'm like, yeah, I never really felt like anyone loved me the way I loved them because I always went so above and
Yep.
beyond for the people that I love.
Yes.
And it never really felt reciprocated quite in the same way. So I spent most of my life really believing that I loved others more than they loved me because that was like the proof. My actions were the proof, and the lack of their actions was the proof in my eyes.
Yeah.
Um,
I get that. I feel that. I can't even tell you how, and we've never talked about this, but it's the same. I felt very unloved
Mhm.
for most of my life and coming at it with that angle of they just couldn't match what I was doing.
Yeah,
And that was on me because that's what I was choosing to do. And
exactly.
yeah, so and just talking about this make me realize, yes, I expected others to do the same. And if they weren't giving what I was doing, they just definitely did not love me as much as I definitely love you more than you love me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exact like, I've always felt that, in one form or another. Like, I always just thought, like, maybe I just had the bigger capacity to love than others. But it and it's so funny because that never really stopped me, though, because I just kept thinking, "Well, something will give, right? That eventually, they will see how much I love them, and they will return that love," like the hope of a child. And that was I had to grieve that because I spent so many years abandoning myself in that sense, unconsciously, that when I really realized that's what I'd been doing, that was a hard thing to face about myself,
Mhm,
that I had put everyone else, my love for them ahead of my love for myself, and
mhm,
in doing so, just abandoned myself over and over and over again. That was a
mhm.
hard thing to sit with and forgive myself for, and ask my inner child for forgiveness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what would you say, Shanice? I know you just talked about how this experience taught you about abandoning yourself. So, what did having this realization of love does not equal sacrifice? What did this experience teach you? What was the biggest lesson? I know there's many, but what are because I know we have always many lessons from everything we, get from experience. But what was some of the biggest lessons that you received and learned from this experience of this realization?
So I will say the biggest one out of all of them, and you're right, there are many, was my definition of giving. That completely changed for me because I'd been giving from my energy, and in doing so depleting myself. And that has been the way I'd given for most of my life. And when I began what love meant for me, and started loving myself and pouring that love into myself, it really showed me how true giving comes from the overflow of the love that I give for me. It is never something that depletes me. I no longer give in a depleting way where I'm giving and taking from me to give. Now when I give myself so much love and I fill my cup so much so that the giving comes from the overflow of love that is pouring out of me. And in so doing, I never deplete myself, ever. My love no longer comes with any form of sacrifice. It is actually the most powerful and potent kind of love because it comes from my overflow. And so that has been the biggest change in my life. And I'm always full. And now I get to give others the best version of me. And I mean, and it really changed my relationship with my children. Because again, this all came about with the postpartum with Lincoln. And like getting to see and experience a new way of showing up for my children, I can't even begin to describe. It's so beautiful because, like, I get to give them the best version of me, like, all of my love, all of the overflow of my love. And it really has, like, I've seen how it's changed my relationship with them. And there isn't so much anxiety, there isn't so much stress, there isn't so much anger and all of the things that come up in day-to-day life because I'm so anchored in my love because I'm constantly loving on myself from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to bed that I just have so much love to give and it doesn't deplete me in any way. And I love that I get to give that to my children. God, I love that. It is one of the proudest things I've ever done is to be able to show up that way for the people I love the most, my kids.
Yeah, and then Shanice, you're teaching them to do the same. So instead of how you were taught and watched growing up and watched your own mother, sacrifice to give you whatever you needed and sacrifice herself, which, you inherited that and took that
Yep.
on, that
Yep.
now you're showing your kids a different way that works more in your favor and will work more in their favor. And I also thought as you were talking about that, Shanice, that giving, you really had to emotionalize that giving without sacrifice, because when I think about that, when I would give thinking the same way that it equals sacrifice, I would wait till I have a feeling that I ran out. Like then I was done giving. So to not still feel full and not give, it's a different feeling, right? Because like when you were talking,
Completely.
yeah, because you were like, would just give and give. Well, to me, because, it was like you couldn't give enough unless you're getting to the end. Like if I don't feel that empty, that I haven't given enough. Versus
There's
now
like
you're saying if I do feel empty, you know what I mean? It's like a reverse feeling even,
Mm.
right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Because I
because like,
felt
it's like,
empty.
I've still got some gas in the tank.
Yes.
Let's go. I can do one more. I've got that in me, right? Yeah.
I had to feel that, like, literally empty feeling. So to program yourself to not feel empty, and you're doing it on overflow, which you were just telling us,
Mhm.
it's such a inside different feeling.
Yeah, it
So
truly
cool.
is. 'Cause I'm no longer giving from me, I'm not taking from me, which means I'm not exhausting myself. I'm no longer abandoning myself, like, I'm at peace now because my giving comes from my overflow, like, there's just this sense of complete peace and honestly bliss to love yourself to the point where your giving is coming from overflow. Like there is a bliss that you reach within yourself. Like I will sometimes just sit in my energy and bask in my energy because it's such an aphrodisiac to me. Like I'm so in love with my own energy and the love that I have for myself that I will literally just sit in my own energy blissed out because it's just God, it's so amazing.
That's
And
awesome.
it took me so long to get there. So
Yeah.
long to get there. But it is possible. You can get there no matter how big of a people pleaser you are. Because trust me, I was the biggest people pleaser there was. Yeah.
So, how has this led to the awareness you have today? Well, you just mentioned one that you used to big people pleaser. So, how has it led you to this today?
Oh man. So I now understand love in a completely different way. Like my definition of love growing up was giving love to others, showing love for others. Um, and now it's like I've taken giving out of the equation completely, and it's just the essence of who I am. I am love and anchoring myself in the frequency of love every day. I become it more and more and more. I embody it more and more every day. Yes, I give from that, but it's secondary now. It's no longer my main focus. I am love. And then whatever happens from me embodying love happens. And if there's giving. And if there isn't, there isn't. And whatever comes from that comes from that. But giving is no longer sacrificing is no longer it's something of the past. And that's no longer my main focus. I just embody love in every way, shape, and form with every thought that I think in my head, with every heartfelt experience. Like I'm constantly speaking words of love into myself. And praising myself and just lifting myself up, like everything I can to be there for myself and to embody the kind of love that I hope to one day receive from someone else in the physical 3D, an actual human, and not just the energy. And I know that's coming because loving myself this much has just shown me that I am capable of experiencing a great love with another human being. So that's one. And another is I just have, my God, Lori, there's so much freedom, and just being who I am and allowing myself to disappoint others, to be there for myself. There's such a just sense of inner peace that I carry. And not that I'm always peaceful or always free, but one of the things that this has helped me do is create so much space for myself, for all of me, for my sadness, my grief, for my joy, for my loneliness, for like anything, all of the parts of me. I've just created so much space for all of me. And on any given day, I'm experiencing multiple. It's no longer a bad thing. It's no longer a good thing. It's not anything. It just is. And so I just get to experience myself in all of my multi dimensions and it's beautiful.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome, Denise. What a great message. What a great message for all of us to really see the other side of starting with you. It starts with us.
Yeah.
Back to episode 1.
Yeah.
I know I always say that, but again, what you're saying from all of this is it starts with us. It starts with you versus the other way of thinking was it starts out there. I give to you first, I give to me second.
Yeah.
And this awareness is really it starts with you, and that's where the flip I see has really turned for you and the great feelings that came along with this change of what you're receiving is, oh my gosh, like you said, this whole overflow and being able to bring all that to whoever you meet along your way, your kids, your friends, whomever is coming, they get this all of this. It's like that whole thing that we talk about a lot is starting with us. There's less energy involved. Crazy. It's like this
Yes.
it's just because 'cause you're using what you have. It's like you're not taking. It's just, oh, it's just right in you. It's right there. How resourceful you're being.
Yes. Yes. I have so much more energy, so much more time to myself. And I just like my overall state of mind, state of health, emotional health, physical health, mental health has just improved so much. Seriously, it's like night and day,
Yeah.
honestly. And now I know that the best way I can love someone else is to just love myself. Truly, the best way to love others is to love ourselves and let that love overflow onto everything and everyone else in our
There's
lives.
nothing you're sacrificing.
Yeah, truly.
There's nothing you're sacrificing in that route.
Mhm.
So that is just a win-win.
Yeah, it's advantageous for you, advantageous to others. I mean, yes, win-win. No one loses in this scenario.
No, no.
Yeah.
How darn beautiful. I love this. And I can confess after working with you for years and watching you go through all of this, that you do have this beautiful, like your energy just keeps showing more clear and clearer. The more I work with you, the more I get to know you. It is really shining. I can see the vibrancy. And even though you have a full life, you have 6 kids, you don't. show that, and you can see how you really have emotionalized this. And I can contest to that because I work with you
Yeah, you've
every month
watched me go
together.
through this process, Lori.
So, it's been beautiful and I can feel it. And then actually that energy brings me energy. And
Mhm.
it's definitely a ripple effect that you have, around others then, and I can definitely feel that, and I it's been a joy to work with you, and even when you're not feeling great, it's been a joy. I love it. I love this, and
Yeah.
I'm so happy for you, and I'm happy for us, and happy for
I
everybody
know,
around you.
right? Yes, yes, it like, 'cause like I said, it benefits everyone. It really, really does. And I think it's one of the most liberating things that you can do for yourself and for others. I know there's so many things going on in the world right now, and we're always so outward focused, right? But it's like the best way if you are someone who's looking at the state of the world and you're like, what can I do and how can I help? And the best thing you can do is to go within, to love yourself, because that love will touch, because we're all interconnected. We are all one. The love that you pour into yourself will affect and touch everything, whether you see it or not.
Yeah,
So it's
a
one of the most powerful things you can do is to
absolutely.
leave behind sacrifice and to love yourself and in the fullest way that you can. It's changed my life.
I love that. All right. Well, Shanice, thank you for sharing this heartfelt experience of when you learned that love does not equal sacrifice,
Yes.
which is something we all really need to emotionalize. And I appreciate you being so vulnerable and willing to share your story and to help others understand that they don't have to sacrifice parts of themselves to give and receive love.
Yes. Yeah,
So, thank
exactly.
you. And for those of you listening, if this story has inspired you, please like, subscribe, share it with someone whose life could change by hearing it. And if you would like to learn more about us or check out our products and services, click the link in the description.
Yes. And thank you guys so much for listening to Branching In with Shanice.
And Lori, join us for our next episode. We post on Fridays. See you then. Bye.